We have quorum? Okay. All right, good morning. The October 13th Executive Committee meeting is called to order. First, I'd like to ask our interpreter to explain how to access interpretation. Please go ahead.
Good morning. To use the interpretation feature, please scroll to the bottom of the Zoom screen where the meeting controls are. Click on language interpretation icon, the world, and select English as your language. If you are joining through the Zoom mobile app, cell phone, tablet, etc., please press the ellipsis, then interpretations, then choose your language. Finally, click on the mute original audio to not hear the original Spanish low in the background. Headsets are available for interpretation. If you are in the meeting room, please check out a headset from the receptionist in the lobby. Buenos días. Para hacer uso del servicio de interpretación, por favor, desplazarse a la parte inferior de la pantalla de Zoom, donde aparecen los controles. Haga clic en el icono de interpretación del globo terráqueo y seleccione español. Si está utilizando la aplicación móvil de Zoom, un celular, una tableta, etc., presione los puntos suspensivos, luego interpretación y luego el idioma. Si no desea escuchar el audio original en inglés en el fondo, por favor seleccione silenciar audio original. Contamos con auriculares disponibles para el servicio de interpretación. Si se encuentra en la sala de reunión, por favor pedir auriculares con la recepcionista en el vestíbulo. Gracias. Thank you.
I'm going to start the meeting with a tribal acknowledgement. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the land that we call home. Tribal nations of the San Diego region have historically faced injustices. We acknowledge the harmony that existed between the land, nature, and its original peoples who have since endured displacement, persecution, and systemic oppression. We pay our respects to the unceded territory and homelands of the 18 tribal nations in our region, the most in any county in the United States, from our cultural groups, the Kumeyaay, the Diegueño, the Luiseño, the Cupeño, and the Coahuila. This land has nourished, healed, protected, and embraced them for many generations in a relationship of balance and harmony. As members of the SANDAG community, we acknowledge this legacy. We aspire to learn from Indigenous traditional knowledge and experience in undoing the injustice of the past. Now, if you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tessa, can you please call roll?
Good morning, Chairwoman. Yes, we have a quorum today.
Thank you. With that, let's begin today's meeting with non-agenda public comments. This is for public and member non-agenda comments. Go ahead, Tessa.
Thank you. I have two public commenters on this item. The first, the original draw. Please go ahead.
So Nora, I'm just wondering if you're gonna silence people on non-agenda public comment today saying that they're off topic. What you've been doing at the Board of Supervisors is a bit much. And so the hope is that you don't do it here as well. And you let people speak without interrupting them and make sure that they can address their grievances that they've come to address without you sticking a sheriff on them or whatnot. It's very sad what is going on because you're getting, very agitated over things that have, it's just showing your weakness. So, I would suggest that you turn away from doing that and let the people come and speak. Because otherwise, it just shows you're just being transparent and showing how you're falling quicker than Nathan. So, don't do that to the people. They don't deserve it. They come here to redress their grievances. So let them do that without interrupting them.
Our next and final public speaker on non-agenda, the phone number 731. Please go ahead.
Well, good morning, Nora and crew. This is Truth, the #1 speaker, or so I was told recently. I'm calling in from the lobby right now. Just kidding. So I made the news twice in 2 weeks now. One time was thanks to you road tax political theater fools, because we know there's going to be more coming. And Hassan, I finally hung out at the Westgate Hotel. Pretty swanky. I even got to hear a live song rendition called Route 67. Now, credit to Mike Brello for this. You know what hasn't been factored into SANDAG's equity statement? Economic burden. All the price, parking, toll lanes, and congestion taxes that will devastate the lower and barely existent middle class. And it took a joint meeting for the public to finally get to partake in the corner bakery cafe catering that the taxpayers always pay for. So of course I loaded up on 2 bowls of muffins, 2 bowls of fruit, and 2 cups of coffee. And what I tasted is that catering's full of toxic GHGs, so you maybe should just give it all to me next time. All right, I'll see you guys soon. Nora, make sure you have a good meeting. Follow the guidelines. Don't interrupt people unless they really are off topic. So I'll see you guys later. Bye.
That concludes the public comments.
Wonderful. Just a reminder that during the executive committee, just kind of raise your hand so that I can see you, and I'm happy to call on you. Are there any member comments? All right, seeing none. The next item on the agenda is moving on to the consent agenda. Colleen, do we have any updates on the draft agendas for this week?
Yes, we do, Madam Chair. So item 12, which is the San Diego Double Track and Special Events Platform Project, the CMCG constructing delivery method, which is on the 1027 board agenda, will be brought at a later date. There's some additional work we need to do on that one. And then the Clean Mobility Options Grant Acceptance will be added to the 1027 board agenda, and that concludes the modifications to the board agendas. Thank you.
Approval. All right, do we have a second? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question.
Okay.
I have a couple of things. So you said to raise our hands. Okay, so 2 things on the consent for the approval of minutes. I was looking through the minutes and they don't, I don't know when this happened, and maybe I missed it in the past, but there is no discussion of what the actual board members say. It talks about public comments from the public, what they were talking about, but it doesn't say anything about when any board members bring them up. So I don't feel like that's totally transparent. I'd like to see that we have something kind of about when a board member brings something up, that it is noted. And then on number 3, I would like to add an item, and I'm not sure how it would be worded, but for the October 27th agenda, I had asked at our last meeting, and I have not received it, that we would have detailed information about the expenses on the credit cards that are staff credit cards, and I can give you an idea of what that is. So on our business meal expenses / hospitality and event expenses. It's for hospitality and event for quarter 23, quarter 4. It doesn't have a breakdown. It's actually under the P card program, but it's in the same report. It doesn't have like any notations as to business and employee travel. I feel like for transparency, it would be best if we actually had what employees traveled, what meetings they attended, and then also any board members travel, and then where they attended the meetings. And I asked for this at the last meeting, and I was told, yeah, no problem, we'll get that. I haven't received that.
Okay.
So a formal request, I'd like to have it added to our next agenda for
Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow up with the team so that they can give me a deadline on when they're going to give it to you. We have a really packed agenda for the 27th. I'm going to work with them to figure out when they can give it to me and decide whether we're going to put it on the agenda or not. Okay.
So could I have that either in October or November, that we would have a policy that we will be completely transparent and have that information provided to us as
so we don't get to create just a policy. What we're gonna do is if there's a policy that you want that has specific details on expanding how we report back to the board, that can be a policy recommendation that you get to make during the discussion about our policy process, which I think we're going to have in November, because I had to push it back because our agendas are pretty packed. And so happy to do that. So why don't I go ahead and follow up with Colleen? We'll put it on our to-do list of items, but absolutely. And then in the meantime, I'm going to ask Colleen if you in the next week or 2 can follow up and get mayor what she needs and see if that's exactly what she was looking for. I'm not sure where the item is, but I think it would be a good idea to do that so that she has what she has requested. Is there anything else,
We'll
Madam
follow
Mayor?
up.
So, well, maybe Mr. Kirk could actually elaborate on this. So when it says board/employee travel and it has a number of transactions, the value of the transactions, it's not broken down. Is that what we currently have as a policy, or is it supposed to be, just
I
more?
believe that, I'm not
clear.
sure exactly what the document is that you have before you,
Sorry.
but I will, if it's the one that recently went before the board within the last few weeks, that was drawn in accordance with the policy that you as the board adopted.
Okay, all right. So I guess I would like the further, and if I need to do a public records request, I'm happy to do that too, if that's the way I could get the information.
I mean, you can do whatever you want, but I don't know that it's necessary because you're asking for it. We're going to get it to you. And I think the other thing to do is, we just have a new internal auditor, right? And part of what we're trying to do is be transparent and accountable. I think as you're meeting with the internal auditor is asking her what are the best practices, right? Because I think the other thing about it is, we can get all the receipts and everything else, but I think it's also what are the best practices so that you're not creating liability for the entity and the organization. As a mayor, you know that there's some things that are closed session, there's some things that are not. There's a lot of information that is that is shared or not shared and all that. So it might be also a good process that sometimes we can over policy ourselves, right? And so the more bureaucracy we create, the harder it is sometimes for folks that are trying to find information. So it might be a good combination of let's look at our policy. Let's also talk to our our new auditor so she can help us and guide us what are the best practices, and then together we can come up with what the best form is. I'm not necessarily sure what it is exactly that you want to see, so I think maybe that's the first thing, like what is missing.
Oh,
and
sure.
and that way
And I'm happy to provide that. So when we talk about board and employee travel, just what meetings people are going to, where we're paying for them to go to so they can attend these meetings. And I think that would just, in my opinion, make it all a line of what we've been doing, because we do have like the meetings and it says so-and-so attended a meeting here and they represented the agency. I guess I'm just trying to figure out where we're going and who we are. When we're using taxpayer dollars, I think it's important for us to
So I
make
think,
sure
for
that.
instance, so I was in Mexico City representing
I'm sorry, I
SANDAG
was
this weekend,
still-
right? No, I'm going to ask you.
Yeah.
So what is it that you're looking for? You want to know like the flights, where we stayed, what we ate, all that stuff? Is that what you're
No,
looking for?
this is just travel expenses. I don't think food would be covered under that because
No,
we have
that's what I'm
per diem, I
asking.
think.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's necessary.
Okay.
Just literally, okay, here's the meeting that was attended and here's who attended. I don't think it
Perfect.
has to go into exactly which hotel you stayed at and like that, just
cool.
what meeting it was that you attended, that whoever attended, just so
That's
that we
fair.
have.
Like, the
it's-
name, you could probably, sometimes what you can do is just put the actual name of the conference, the list of the people. So yeah, totally fine. We can get that for you. No
Okay,
problem.
and that was to the last report, which Mr. Kirk, that was the last one that we got at the last meeting. So it was, I think, ending July or June 30th, maybe.
Okay,
I think it was Q4.
thank you.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Yes, sir.
Nope. I would
Okay.
second it though. Oh,
Okay.
sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I just wanted to note that I see on the consent calendar for the next board meeting is the public member appointments for the audit committee. And I think we all know that there have been some board policy recommendations the audit committee made about a year ago that were supposed to be taken up by now, but haven't. And I'm just hopeful that some of the ones that we were talking about, specifically like maybe term length, alternate appointment, and most hopefully, staggering at least some of the appointments so they don't all expire at the same time like we do now, that those could be taken up as part of this item or at least considered. And then last, since that meeting is 1 week prior to the next regularly scheduled audit committee meeting, I'm just hoping that the people that are nominated could be told earlier than that so they have time to get ready for it. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. For the City of San Diego, Vice Chair Elo Rivera. For the County of San Diego, Chairwoman Vargas. For East County, Councilmember Shu.
Aye.
North County Coastal, Vice Chair Hebner. North County Inland, Mayor Jones.
Jones, yes.
And South County Councilmember Cardenas.
Cardenas, aye.
And that motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 4 for the proposed fiscal year 2024 program budget amendment, Caltrans Sustainable Transportation Planning Grant Awards. This item is about bringing almost 5 million to our region, and I want to congratulate our staff for getting this grant. I'm going to turn it over to Julianne, so please go ahead. Wait. I think I made a mistake. I didn't do public comment on consent. I need your help so make sure that you're keeping track. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead. We made a motion, so I'm gonna retract the motion. And I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to public comment.
Thank you. And I apologize, Chairwoman. We do have a public commenter on the consent agenda, the original
Apologize.
draw. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know why you guys are skipping that. I mean, it's a little bit weird, but it's like we don't know how to run meetings anymore. Yeah, last time we were talking about the Tijuana River Valley crisis. And what I think we really need to do here, because what we're doing is we're wasting some premium sewer water right there. And we need to give people pure water, right? So I feel like what we need to do is work on, capturing that and making sure that we don't waste it, because that is, we need to be giving people this kind of stuff. And if we're sitting here just wasting it and letting it, not be used, that's not sustainable. And so what we need to do is figure out the best and quickest way to get that into the mouths, bodies, clothes, food of everybody in the county. And I think it'll, it's going to give us a little bit of different flavors than the ones that we have. So it's good to mix it up. But yeah, I just really suggest that, because we shouldn't be wasteful. I mean, that's negligent, right?
Your time expired. That concludes the public comments.
Okay, so just for clarification, council, do I need to redo the motion or are we good?
Can you recognize the motions for the record?
All right, I'm gonna recognize, what does that mean?
Who made the motion? Who made the second?
Okay.
Make sure that they're
The
still
motion was
affirming
made.
those.
I'm good with that.
Okay,
Yes.
Okay.
thank you. All right. So that motion carried. So now the next item on the agenda is item number 4, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Julie. Julianne.
All right, thank you, Chairwoman Vargas. Good morning, Executive Committee. My name is Julian Podrzejewski. I'm the Senior Budget Analyst for SANDAG. I'm here to present to you the proposed FY24 program budget amendment to accept $4.7 million in Sustainable Transportation Planning Grant Awards. SANDAG asked the Executive Committee to recommend the Board of Directors to approve this proposed amendment for SANDAG to accept the $4.7 million in Caltrans Sustainable Transportation Planning Grant funds. I have with me Jenny Russo to answer any questions regarding the grant process, along with the program managers overseeing each of the 4 new projects from these grants. I will now pass it over to Antoinette Meyer to give a brief overview of each project.
Thank you, Julian. Good morning. Antoinette, I'm your planning director here at SANDAG, and I want to give you a quick overview of the successful projects, starting with the first one, which is actually the largest Caltrans planning grant that we have ever received for $3 million. This will build upon existing Central Mobility Hub planning work to look at 6 regionally significant corridors that feed into the Central Mobility Hub, to assess climate risk and to develop climate adaptation strategies for those corridors. And this is a partnership with MTS. The second project on the list is a partnership with the city of La Mesa, who asked us to take the lead on this grant, and with MTS. And this will examine grade crossings, the orange line, all through downtown La Mesa, and make recommendations for improvements to both trolley operations, traffic operations, and safety through things like grade separations. And then the third one will help us to be much more competitive for reconnecting communities grant programs. There's a significant amount of money available at the federal and state level for reconnecting communities projects. This will allow us to develop a comprehensive coordinated strategy, identify all of the reconnecting community priority projects. Those are projects where there are barriers created by transportation infrastructure like highway or rail. And then we'll make recommendations for opportunities to address those barriers through improved access and mobility. And then last but not least is a partnership with the County of San Diego. The county asked us to take a lead on this grant project to develop a regional VMT mitigation program. So this will essentially create a bank that developments can pay into when they need to mitigate their VMT, and that funding then can be used for projects around the region that reduce and mitigate those VMT impacts. So really excited about these 4 projects, and congratulations to any of you who were also successful in this round of Caltrans planning grants.
This is fabulous. I love it when we get money. Can we turn it over to public comment, please?
We do have one public commenter on this item. The original draw, please go ahead. You are unmuted. Please go ahead.
I wasn't unmuted. You didn't even send me a thing. And Nora, you shouldn't be talking like that. When you we love money. That is so bad to say because you're spending people's money and it is all on fraudulent information. Everything is. This is a big old money laundering scheme. And it's sad because you're talking about in here, you want to like, identify harmful transit infrastructure. Okay, well, all of the, electric vehicle, things like that, buses that would be in that kind of realm where they're charging these things, it's radiation. I mean, you guys, and everything is based off of lies, and sitting here talking about the vehicle miles traveled because you guys got to de-incentivize people from driving. And so you're making developments pay for it in the long run to build densely where you guys need them to by transit. This is seriously a scam to put people in 15-minute cities. And it's just sad that you talk about money like that because you're using it to destroy stuff. But it's good because it shows your true colors.
That concludes the public comments on this item.
Okay, any member comments? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Jared. Just
Councilmember
have a
Chu.
quick question for Antoinette on the last of these grants dealing with the VMT reduction mitigation. First, in terms of VMT reduction, what is the target that this grant will be working with in terms of VMT reduction?
There's no specific target that's established. This is going to evaluate best practices and come up with some recommendations for a VMT mitigation program that we'll bring back to you all.
Thank you. And in terms of some of the factors that will be coming into play, working with the county, will land use be a major part of that, and specifically implementation of 743 SB 743 VMT reduction?
Yes, I think this will support SB 743 VMT reduction, but I'm not sure I understand what your question is.
Well, in the past, there's been some issues with the county interpretation of 743 and how that's going to be calculated. So I hope we can bring that up to date and working with those numbers. And of course, that plays into land use. So I just want to point that out and make sure we're on the right track so we don't fall back with litigation and other issues. Thank you.
Any additional comments or a motion on this item?
I'd move approval.
Thank you. All right, we've got a motion from Mayor Huebner.
I'll second.
A second from Councilmember Shu. I see no additional requests to speak to this item. Please call the roll.
City of San Diego, Vice Chair Elo Rivera.
Yes.
County of San Diego is absent. East County, Councilmember Shu.
Aye.
North County Coastal, Vice Chair Huebner.
Yes.
North County Inland, Mayor Jones.
Jones, yes.
And South County, Councilmember Cardenas.
Cardenas, yes.
And that motion passes with those members present.
All right, thank you for that. With that, we will move to item 5 for an update from our government relations team on our legislative and policy activities. Once you are settled in and ready to present, go ahead and do so.
Morning, Executive Committee. My name's Hannah Stern, and I'll be presenting the federal report today. So we had a busy week in San Diego with the American Association of State and Highway Transportation Officials in town for their annual rail conference. On Tuesday, CalSTA had the first meeting of the Lausanne Regional Rail Working Group, and we hosted it here in SANDAG with Second Vice Chair Huebner. That meeting was convened by CalSTA Undersecretary Mark Tollefson, and we were honored to have Senate President Pro Tem Tony Atkins and State Senator Kathleen Blakespear join us and provide comments. The meetings will be set quarterly, and they're meant to be take place up and down the corridor in order to increase communication and coordination among the various member agencies and stakeholders up and down the corridor. Mayor Huebner, is there anything you'd like to add?
It was a very well-attended meeting. It was a lot fuller than I thought from people up and down the corridor. The real purpose of this is to elevate the whole concept of the issues that we have with the Lausanne corridor due to sea level rise. And what we did was learn a few things about different parts of the corridor, Orange County and Los Angeles specifically. And these will continue quarterly, as you mentioned. We also had a representative from Congressman Levin's office in attendance. He, of course, was in Washington, D.C. pending a vote on the speaker. And I will just mention that Congressman Levin has been instrumental in bringing awareness of these issues and money for these issues to our region. So it was a great meeting. I was really pleased to be able to represent SANDAG. And I think this is going to go on for a year, right?
I think at least a year, yes.
Very good. Thank you.
Yep. Additionally, on Thursday, we also hosted conference attendees, including staff from the Federal Railroad Administration and folks from Railroads for National Defense. They joined us for a train ride on the Pacific Surfliner. So we went up to Oceanside and back, and were able to talk more about the projects that SANDAG have going on and see on the ground perspective on those projects. In DC, we have a new junior senator for California. Following the sad passing of Senator Dianne Feinstein, Governor Newsom appointed Senator LaFonza Butler to represent the state. We don't yet know if she's going to join the crowded primary for a full term in 2024, but we expect to hear from her soon. Also in DC, we have gone 10 days without a Speaker of the House, which is unprecedented. As you probably saw, the Republican conference voted to remove Kevin McCarthy of his speaker duties about a week and a half ago. Following that action, there was an acting speaker appointed, Representative Patrick McHenry. That role is largely ceremonial, with the main purpose of presiding over a speaker election. The Republican conference met on Wednesday to nominate a speaker designate who would go to the floor for a vote. You need, in this current House, you need 217-ish members to support a speaker to have them be elected. The Republican conference had a secret ballot between Representative Jim Jordan and Majority Leader Steve Scalise. Majority Leader Scalise won that election, but then it soon became clear that he would not be able to secure the 217 votes needed to be elected speaker. So late last night, he withdrew from the speaker race. It's unclear what happens next. There are a few options. I believe the Republican conference are meeting now to try and determine if they have a candidate who can get to 217 votes on the floor. They'll probably proceed with Jim Jordan, but it is unlikely he'll be able to secure the 217 votes. Other options include trying to bestow more power upon the largely ceremonial role of acting speaker so that Representative Patrick McHenry could be a speaker pro tempore and be able to move legislation. Or an unlikely scenario in this Congress is that a few Republicans could work with Democrats to nominate a consensus speaker. That would likely result in some sort of power sharing agreement where the majority would give the minority Democrats a few extra seats on committee or something like that in order to secure Democratic votes on the floor. So we'll keep watching and see what happens. We do have a lot of urgent legislation that needs to be addressed, including the war in Israel, and also the federal government will run out of funding again on November 17th. So we'll be watching that with great interest. And finally, Hector Venegas, our border manager, is out today, but I wanted to mention that SANDAG sent a delegation along with the San Diego Regional Chamber of Commerce's trip to Mexico City. So we went there to advocate for projects like Otay Mesa East. Is there anything you'd like to add about that, Hassan?
Thank you, Hannah. I want to thank Supervisor Vargas, Mayor Gloria, Councilmember Duncan for being there. This is the annual chamber trip, but our goal was to meet with our Mexican partners regarding Gota Mesa too. We had two meetings, one with the Department of State, where they again re-emphasized their commitment to moving the project on the Mexican side. And the other meeting was with the Secretary of Transportation and Communication, Mr. Nunez. I thought both meetings went well. Our Mexican partners still committed to the project. I think this amazing project will be delivered to both nations sometimes next year or the year after. But it was a good trip by all measures regarding Gota Mesa too.
Thank you. And with that, I will hand it over to Jose Alvarez for the state report.
Good morning, Vice Chairs and committee members. My name is Jose Alvarez. I'll be giving you a brief update on the state legislation. Last month, I brought to you a couple of bills that were pending actions from the legislature. Since then, the government has received most of these, including SANDAG's sponsored Otay Mesa East Port of Entry Bill, AB 427 by Assemblymember Alvarez. This bill, as a reminder, clarifies SANDAG's authority to use the CMDC contracting method for the project, Otay Mesa East. This urgency bill was signed last month and went into effect immediately. Additionally, SANDAG supported AB 610 by Assemblymember Holden. This is the Youth Transit Pass Pilot Program. This is a bill that would have created a statewide program to provide grants to transit agencies for the creation or expansion of fare fee programs statewide. This bill did not receive funding through the legislature budget process. And for that reason, it has been made a two-year bill in hopes of attracting some funding commitments by the legislature next year. Senate Bill 677 by Senator Blakespear, a bill that would require the Los and Rail Corridor Agency to include in its annual business plan a list of projects to mitigate climate impacts to the corridor, has been signed by the governor last weekend. And another SANDAG-sponsored bill, Senate Bill 825 by Senator Limon, was signed last month by the governor. This bill would include metropolitan planning organizations and regional transportation planning authorities into the definition of local government agencies for the purpose of receiving broadband funding under CPUC's Local Agency Technical Assistance Grant. So all in all, the governor has signed or vetoed most of the bills received. He has until tomorrow to finish acting on anything on his desk, and we'll be reporting out to you hopefully a more comprehensive list next month during our executive committee. Thank you.
All right, thank you both for the update there. Do we have any public comment on the legislative status report?
Thank you, Vice Chair. We have one public commenter, the original draw. Please go ahead.
You know the answer to that question, Sean. I love how you guys are in Mexico and we have like an invasion going on. It's like, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about doing some more business to make it easier for people to cross. It's so great. And I bet you guys didn't think of this, or maybe you just didn't want to mention it because you really just don't like this person, but you know that Trump could also be the Speaker of the House. How crazy would that be, you guys? What? I bet you would all be just rolling in some shit because you're just so upset about it. Anywho, all of these bills, that's what's so sad. All these people creating these bills and whatnot who have supposedly taken oath to the Constitution are, you know, putting bills in place that are enslaving people, taking parents from their children, ensuring that people have to get a genocide shot, so many things. And it's like, just shows like where we're at, right? And like why everything around us just continues to get destroyed. I wonder why that is. Has nothing to do with you guys, right? Nothing.
And that concludes the public comments.
Are there any member comments? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Thank you for the report. I'm curious, one of the things I've been asking during legislative reports, multiple bodies that I sit on, the potential for a shutdown. We averted the disaster barely, but there's complete dysfunction. The House isn't even really, doing business right now. To what extent might that impact SANDAG? What proactive measures are we taking in case of that? Are there any vulnerabilities that we should be aware of? It's kind of a question for multiple folks here.
Thank you for the question. As far as I'm aware, our functions would maintain if there were a shutdown. We would be impacted if we had federal grants that had just been awarded and were in the process of being dispersed. Some of the DOT agencies operate off of a trust fund, so they wouldn't be as impacted from the shutdown, but it might slow down getting money from grants, things like that. So it would be very disruptive. It would be disruptive to service members and, people who are WIC recipients, SNAP recipients. But in terms of the functions of SANDAG, I would only anticipate that it would impact any funding that we're receiving from the federal government.
And do we know if we have any that could be tied up in that?
If I may, Council President, we haven't assessed every single project. We have about 700 ongoing active projects. But like Hannah said, we don't think there will be immediate impact, but we could be delays. Also keep in mind that even in a shutdown, projects that are classified as safety projects will move forward. But we haven't assessed specifically what impacts in the project, but will not be impacting the agency's operation.
All right, thank you for that. Just want to be sure. Thank you again.
Just one quick question I have. I'm not sure if it's been done or not, but I think it might be good. I know that I've already reached out to our new U.S. Senator Butler, but I think it would be a good idea to request a meeting with her and then as SANDAG and then share some of the projects that we are already in place. I know many of Senator Feinstein's team is still with her, but I think it would be good for her to really share and do all that, highlight all the big projects and initiatives as well. Okay, cool. Thank you. All right. With that, I think this is just an information item. So there is no item needed on this item. So that concludes our meeting. So we will have our next executive committee meeting on November 3rd at 9 a.m. With that, we're adjourned and our regular meeting is scheduled to start at 10 a.m. Thank you, everyone.